I actually consciously have been building my personal brand since 2010. No one's ever going to pay you for styling. And I'm like, yeah, watch me. And I went on to build a business for 15 years.
There are so many stories I can tell where I've gone to a check-in desk and there's a guy or female before me and they are angry.
The job was cabin crew with Emirates. And I said, yeah, but I don't know if I want to be crew. And she was like, well, you don't need to be that forever. Go and try it and experience something.
Because a lot of business owners sit behind the company and they don't realise if they have an exit strategy, where does that leave them? So welcome to another episode of So What's Your Story? And we see a lot in the media, social media, the press, the importance of personal branding. Those that get it right can move forward at such an accelerated pace. Those that get it wrong, it can damage you. So when we think about some of the biggest names in what I do, podcasting, they are individual brands. Joe Rogan, Mel Robbins, The Diary of a CEO, most people associate with Stephen Bartlett. They've become masters at telling their story and becoming those brands. Think about it as music artists as well, TV celebrities, sports men and women. Today, I'm joined in the studio by a personal brand strategist who really has walked the walk. She's a life coach, an author, a TEDx speaker. She runs workshops. She has her own podcast, helping entrepreneurs and execs go from hidden to seen. She is also known for her storytelling, strategy, visibility skills. That was a bit of a mouthful. So join me as I ask today's guest, Kelly Lundberg. So, what's your story?
I love it. Thank you for that fabulous introduction as well.
You are welcome. You are welcome. And we're going to have a little look at talk about this later, but you have so kindly brought into the studio and signed it for me, as many of my previous guests have done as well. So I'm so grateful for this. It is an amazing title. De-seed the lemon. Elevate your personal brand one pip at a time. Amazing.
Story in that as well.
Story in that as well. I mean, look, you know, it's ironic, isn't it? That my show's called So What's Your Story? And, you know, we're sitting in a studio in Dubai. How lucky am I? But how more lucky are you? Yeah. Or is that even correct English? Maybe not. That you've been in the UEA for the past 23 years.
Yeah. Seems like a really long time when you say it.
And you're so young.
I feel like I should tell people I came when I was a baby. Sadly, a few more wrinkles might
Kelly
give
came
it away.
when she was 2.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
sadly
no.
not. It's because it's where people say always the same thing. Oh, you've been here 23 years. Oh, so much has changed. And what I always find quite interesting is, yes, so much has changed, but also it hasn't, because it's happened all around me. So you don't just wake up one day and like, oh my God, it's all here. It just happened. And it's a bit of a time warp in a way, because I think back to what it was like when I first came here, and Dubai seemed big and exciting coming from Edinburgh.
Yeah.
23 years ago, but
right.
Now it's completely different. But you don't notice it. Yeah, you notice the traffic. Yeah, you notice the building work. But all of a just sudden, there's a community there and there's a community there. And what was far out 15 years ago is now like one of the major hubs in Dubai. So
I know. It's a fascinating place. I've only been here a limited amount of times, and there's something that I pick up on each time I come. But you know, going back to your story, what brought you here in the first place, and why did you stay?
It's a great question. So I actually had no idea where Dubai was on the map 23
Really?
years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't suppose a lot of people did they?
No, and it was my mum. So I found an advert in the job centre, and I was, in between kind of, what do I do with my life? I was 21 years old. What am I going to do? And in the job centre in those days, they had just gone electronic. So before, do you remember it was the white cards that were opened up and they went electronic?
I am showing my age as well as you
literally
are. You've just given it away, by the way.
Sorry. And I remember clicking, international. I was like, what kind of jobs are international? And I clicked on it and there was this job that it said based in Dubai. And I was like, printed it out and I took it home to my mum and I said, Mum, where's Dubai? And she was like, oh, do you remember? And my family took us on holiday to Bahrain in 1992. That's another story in that. And my mum said to me, do you remember when we went on holiday to Bahrain with your dad and your sister? And I was like, yeah. I said, Dad didn't get any drink that holiday. I don't know how happy he was. I'm not sure I want to go there. Just the thoughts of a 21-year-old. And my mum said something that stuck with me. And she said, no, you must go. It's a new city. It's going to become the next big hub.
Oh, wow.
I think you should explore that option. And I was like, okay. And the job was cabin crew with Emirates. And I said, yeah, but I don't know if I want to be crew. And she was like, but you don't need to be that forever. Go and try it and experience something. And she said, and if it's not for you, something else will happen. So she really encouraged me all those years to go. And yeah, I remember going in actually in Edinburgh, there's a Waterston's bookshop on Princess Street. It's still there actually. And I remember going in and looking at a Lonely Planet guide. And I remember looking for Dubai. And then I was like, bars and restaurants. And it was like, can you drink? Yes. I was like, okay, Mum, I'm going to apply. This is so interesting what your priorities are at sort of 21. And this memory that I had as a child being in Bahrain and my dad going, well, I can't get a beard and I can't drink, and it was a holiday. Whereas it's nothing like that. And honestly, it was the best thing I ever did. I was cabin crew for 2.5 years. I traveled the world. I loved it. I loved the opportunities that it gave. But I came to Dubai at a time where, like, I still think you can, but anything is possible. And I wanted to be part of this. It's like this contagiousness in the air that, you want to do that? Go and do it. And people behind you will support you. And there was never, when I decided about launching at 24 years old, the Middle East first personal shopping and styling agency, one person questioned me. That was my very first boyfriend here. He got quickly dumped. And he's like, no one's ever going to pay you for styling. And I'm like, yeah, watch me. And I went on to build a business for 15 years, work with incredible people, royalty, celebrities, everyday people, but ultimately helping them with their brand, their confidence, how they show up. And Dubai, I believe, gave me that confidence of you can do it, because other people were doing it.
And what about, you were cabin crew. I've flown a lot. I feel blessed that I'm able to say that. Some flights have been horrendous. Not because of the airline or the crew, but because of the people. And I mean that respectfully. Sometimes it's not their fault. They get ill or a child screams, or there can be lots and lots of things. So would it be fair to say that not just as a very young female in your 20s doing cabin crew, you learn people skills, you learn how to negotiate, and of course you would have heard a lot of stories, right? Yeah,
but I think what even actually set me up before that put me in an even stronger position, was before that I was a holiday rep. Now that sets you up for dealing with people. And I think actually when I became cabin crew, I was like, man, this is easy. I only have to deal with them for 12 hours. Like on
where were you a holiday rep?
So I worked in Cyprus, was my first destination at 18. And then I moved to the Canary Islands. And then I spent 3 years in the Canary Islands. And I thought I was going to live there forever. I loved it. Fortaventura, yeah.
So sun is your thing. There's a common theme there.
Well, that's kind of I left holiday repping, went back to Scotland. And then I was a rainy day in Edinburgh in November. And I saw this job advert for Dubai. Mum says it's in the Middle East. I'm like, no no-brainer. Let's
go.
go. But people used to be, oh, that passenger in 36D, what a nightmare. I'm like, we've only got another 4 hours with them. I used to have 2 weeks with the holiday makers from hell. So I think that actually crew for me, you think not having chicken or beef is a problem? No. A problem is when someone's in a hotel they are not happy with and they are sitting waiting for you in the lobby every single morning going,
with a face of thunder. Here she is. Have I got something to tell you? Right. I don't know why I changed my accent then slightly, but anyway.
Do customer service questionnaires that we had to hand deliver to everyone. And one of the questions that were always asked was, how was the weather on your holiday? Because guaranteed, if the weather was bad, then their whole holiday was impacted by that. So there was...
So now you're responsible for the weather.
Completely.
Why isn't it sunny?
Exactly.
Kelly.
Yes, I didn't get
Can
to go
you
on
get
this
us the
trip.
sun, please?
Oh, yeah. So in actual fact, being crew, some people thought it was the hardest job in the world. And I'm like, no, you're all right. We get to say, see ya.
But what I'm alluding to here is, we're having a bit of fun, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. But what I'm alluding to here is, it's people, isn't it? It's a people's skill.
100%.
And you will have heard stories, I'm sure, some truths, some maybe not so true.
Yeah.
In that world, oh God, you never guess what, honestly, when people say that, I always think, is there a lie coming? I don't wish to be rude, but there's an insult coming afterwards, right? So, but the people skill that you would have had, then you came to Dubai, then you built a successful business, you had high-end clients, despite the ex saying, you'll never do that. Are you listening? Are you watching this? Look at her now. Right? So, people are interesting, aren't they? And everybody has a story.
Oh, they do. And some are great at telling the story.
And some not so great.
But everyone does. And it's something that I do now is getting people actually to see that they have value in their story. And I love saying, what is obvious to you is actually amazing to other people. And it's really important to remember that something that you think is so insignificant can actually be mind-blowing for someone else. So never do yourself a disservice by not telling that story, because it could just be that one thing that makes someone go, I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to go and try that. I'm going to show up today like that person. And that to me is what it's all about.
There may be people listening, watching this saying, I never thought of that. Why don't I do what Kelly did and just give it a go?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can go wrong? I can go back to rainy Edinburgh. But, let's talk about the history of personal branding, because that's where you're at now. You built a very successful business. You're going from strength to strength, and I know we're going to talk about the next things in the future for you.
Yeah.
It's an interesting history, isn't it? Because I think nowadays most people are familiar with personal branding, even if they don't understand that's what it is.
Yeah.
And when I mentioned those names in the introduction, people like Joe Rogan, Mel Robbins, footballers, Cristiano Ronaldo, they're all personal brands actually, aren't they, behind what they do? But it hasn't always been that way. So when you were embarking on this journey, there was a piece of educational, wasn't there, as well as, because people are like, personal branding. No, I've got a business.
Yeah, I think people can't articulate it. I think that was more, I think that's been the harder part, is how do you articulate it, that it's not in a way that, hey, look at me. Yeah. Everybody, I'm amazing. And I think that's probably been the hardest thing. I think COVID has actually helped people define what a personal brand is, because when I started talking about it in 2018, I didn't really quite grasp it. People didn't know what that was. But I actually consciously have been building my personal brand since 2010.
Wow.
And that actually came from a luxury retailer that I was working with.
Really?
And they had told me, so that's when you start to piece the pieces together. But a luxury retailer wanted to work with me in styling. And the PR department said to me, can you send us over all your branding material? So your logo, your biography, and your pictures. So I sent them all of that. And then they called me back and said, I'm afraid we can't use these. And I immediately thought, oh, well, is it not fashionable enough? Like, what is wrong? And they said, no, it needs to be you. And I was like, oh, but my business is me. And they went, no, but we can't be seen to be advertising another business in store. We can only advertise a person.
Ooh.
And it was like the penny dropped, because I had published a book in 2009 and I was doing a lot of speaking in schools. And I was like, the book doesn't really fit in my styling business, but it's me. And I didn't know how to articulate that in my late 20s. And then Harvey Nichols, who the brand I was working with at the time, gave that information to me, and I'm like, okay. And then I got some PR, and the PR people are like, we don't want your business bio, we want your
So was
story.
it kind of like a light bulb moment?
Absolutely. And I was like, okay. So I said to the marketing team, no problem, I'll send you my logo, I'm just updating it. And I contacted a designer, and I was like, right, I need a personal brand logo for my name. And I remember, like, my name's quite long, Kelly Lundberg. And I'm like, who else has got a really long name that I admire in the fashion industry? And I'm like, Victoria Beckham. And I remember I gave inspo to the designer going, see if Victoria Beckham, make something similar that can be Kelly Lundberg because it's long, and let me see what it looks like. And I bought the domain name, and that was really then, okay, starting to understand what goes under Kelly, what goes under the business, but wanting to sell the business as well at some point, which I did do. But then because I still had my personal brand, people still know me. So
that's smart.
That was
the
aha in 2010.
That's very smart, because a lot of business owners sit behind the company and they don't realize if they have an exit strategy, where does that leave them? You cleverly weaved the business and yourself, but put yourself front and center. So as that transitioned out, there's still Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Still make
How
money.
How smart is that?
Still visible, still got speaking ops, and still got people coming to me for various things. And through that, it really helped solidify what does the next steps of my brand. And I think that's the big piece, is your brand never stays the same. It's constantly evolving. Much like personal style, what you think was working in your wardrobe 5 or 10 years ago.
Let me tell you, when I look at some old photographs of me in the 80s, 90s, I'm like, oh, really? Ugh, where's the style police?
Yeah.
So it's, but then, yeah, you're right. Things move, don't they? We talk about, often people say what goes around comes around. Well, it might do, but it's always got a different spin. It's got a different feel to it. Interesting. Storytelling. I want to go into this.
Yeah.
Because when we think about storytelling, there's the likes of Walt Disney, George Lucas, William Shakespeare, Joseph Carroll. They all talk about, they are all brilliant storytellers. And when I read and watched sort of Joseph Carroll's, he sort of informs or has this philosophy that we are all the hero in our own story. And often it is washed out of us and we forget. And when you spoke about earlier, I talked to brands and they say, oh, no one would be interested in that. They just wouldn't. Yeah. Well, who'd have thought that a story about a toy cowboy would be massive? And, all of these stories that were created, Star Wars, how bizarre. But it's legendary because you've got the hero, you've got the subplot, you've got the baddie. It all weaves, and then you've got the happy ending in most cases. And when we speak about, or we relate that to some of the top brands and personal brands, they have a story themselves which weaves a similar journey. Joseph Carroll, again, I say, he speaks about we are all a hero. But when we think about that, it can be washed out of us throughout our life. Can you be quiet now, please? Can you sit there? Sorry, no, that's not a good idea. You see? The psychology of that, what it's doing to us, it's making us shrink. Yet actually we are a hero. What you're very good at is helping people to remove those layers and say, let's dig into your story because it is powerful.
And also lean into the bits that people tell you're too much of, because in actual fact, they're the pieces that make you. And
I love that.
Yeah, and for me, there's I did this with our team, actually. I got them to sit down and I trialed it with them, and I said, I want you to list all the things that people have told you that is too much. Like, you're too this, you're too that. And we actually used AI to reposition as a team how that comes across to empower them more. So one in my team was told she's too direct. And we through AI reworked it, and she's like, "Oh, that's just so much more empowering." And then,
so what was it? What was
I can't remember what the other way around was, but one for me was I was told that, like, I'm too happy. Like, I get told that quite a lot. Like, I'm always so happy. Like, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, I am like this as well. Yes, I am. Yeah, and it annoys some people when they have to have a conversation with me. But it was just repositioning that actually what I bring to people is people enjoy that energy. And rather than it being, so there's loads of different things. One of my other girls she takes quite long to do things, but she's actually very detailed. Right. And she really considers every aspect of what she's doing. And she's like, but I'm creative. And that's part of my process. So it was just really interesting to empower them in a way that told them a different story.
I love that.
In a way that makes them feel better about what it is that they're doing and leaning into that part.
And isn't it true as well, Kelly, that we can't beat everything to everybody, can we?
That's my aha. That was an aha when I turned 40. I don't know what it was, but it was like as soon as I turned 40, it was like...
that was it. The magical number was 40.
And it was just, I don't know, or at least as I reflect back in the last 5 years, I'm like, oh my God, that person in the 30s was really desperate. I don't know if it's the right word, but really wanted to be at that party, be seen, be wearing those
people
clothes.
Pleasing.
Yeah, and be there and now. The more I'm me, the more opportunities I've turned up.
Oh, it's so empowering.
And the more people I help and the more impact. And it's not that I think I wasn't hiding anything, but it's just like, no, this is me. And if you like me, you like me. And if you don't, you don't. And I'm okay with that because I don't like everyone. It's not I don't like everyone, but you're not relatable to everyone.
We're not relatable to everybody. We're not. And you talk about energy. It's a very interesting... I noticed your energy when we first met here today. Good. And it's like, oh, that's Kelly. We hadn't even been introduced. But wearing a smile...
Yeah.
You know, if you're in the presence of somebody who is notoriously miserable, to just go, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
And they go, it's a horrible day. I'm not good. Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, it's like that constant smile can actually lift you, can't it? So whilst we talk about these traits that some people don't get, some people don't understand, I really respect you for that again, that moment when you hit 40, and it was like, hey, I'm just me, and I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of it is the inside job as well. You know, what do you like doing? Working on yourself, and I think that whole piece of I've got much more comfortable. Like, it drives my friends insane, but I go to bed at 9 o'clock. Like, I'm an early bedder. If you want to do anything,
so we're on the same page.
Yeah,
I'm a 5 a.m.
Yep. Yeah.
Bed at 9.
So
that's me.
But I like that.
No, I do.
And it works well.
Exactly. People say to me, "Oh, I couldn't do that." I'm like, I'm not asking you to.
And
that's fine. You prefer evenings.
Owning up to that, and owning up to that, and I'm like, okay, but if you want to do something with me, we do it daytime, we do it lunchtime, and we work around that.
Yeah, I have a collective of people that I know at 5:30 ish. It's okay. We can communicate if I want to.
Yeah.
I actually quite like a bit of peace and quiet in the morning.
At that time in the morning.
Yeah, I do.
But that piece you said on smiling is really interesting because I think energy is your invisible currency.
Oh, it just is.
And people just pick up on that. So in Edinburgh, it's harder to do here, but in Edinburgh when I'm back and I'm walking down the Princess Street or from George Street, you see people and I will smile all the time. I will smile and you can see people being like, friendly, that's nice. But I like to play the game where I just walk along and I smile and either it'll make someone's day, they'll think I'm weird or something, but it just feels good. And I remember doing it for the first time after I read this book. Actually, it's in my book. the very first book that got me into personal development was The Magic of Thinking Big. I read his book. I was so inspired by it on a London Heathrow. I remember being in the hotel and I read it cover to cover and I'm like, this book's changed my life. I am going to smile at every single passenger. I am just going to just be the best cabin crew girl I can possibly be. And I still swear that London Heathrow I had was the best flight. The passengers were the nicest. Like everyone in my section was just brilliant. And that energy of smiling costs nothing.
Nothing. I have travelled a lot. I said that. And there are so many stories I can tell where I've gone to a check-in desk and there's a guy or female before me. They are angry. They have, maybe they're stressed. I don't know. I don't know why they're the way they are. And you can see the receptive side of that. Like, you ain't getting no help from me because you're just being rude, right? Where then if we walk and we approach and we just, hi, you may have had the same jet lag and everything else. There's a completely different response, isn't there?
Yeah.
And isn't that sort of coming back to this storytelling piece? If somebody can be coached, mentored to tell the story in an embracing way, it's going to be received better, isn't it?
Absolutely. But it's something that I think where people fall apart. So one, I don't think they always manage to tell a great story. One, but then they have a great story. So this is often what I hear is they have a great story, but their delivery sucks. And that's the bit.
Oh, there are two, yeah.
And that's when you're going, oh, that was brilliant, but you lost it in too many you lost it in too much moving all around, and we got distracted. We got lost in.
You were too static. You were too monotone. You were.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, isn't it? Like I love comedy, right? And a great comedian can deliver a story sometimes, or a joke. The timing and the delivery, if it's impeccable, boom, give that to somebody else who can do it verbatim, but doesn't deliver it in the same way.
Yeah.
There's either silence or rapturous applause.
Yeah.
And that's really what you're saying here, isn't
Absolutely.
it? That storytelling, even if you coach them, mentor them, okay, here we go, and then they, well, here we are today, and we're going to do a podcast, and it's just boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's coming back to this energy thing. We all have it.
Yeah.
Some people are introverts. They don't like to be. Some people are extroverts. Some people, there's now this new thing, this hybrid version. I don't know, everything's hybrid, right? But it's like, it's how can you build the confidence, Kelly? How do you manage to empower your clients to build the confidence to tell a good story? And I know that's a very expansive question because there's probably a whole process. But is there a sort of like a golden nugget that you could share with us? That
I think confidence comes from seeing results, and often they can be tiny results, but it just fills them. So one of the things that I try and get clients to do through the journey is work with them, obviously, on what makes them them, and we try to understand what is their UPBS, their unique personal branded system or solution. So everyone has,
I like that.
Yeah, everyone has their own kind of way of doing things, their own framework. I have the Brand You formula, which is what I take clients through. That's been CPD accredited now, but I try and help other clients with their uniqueness. So then when they create what I call their UPBS, then what they can do is they can take that to create their own workshop. They could take that to an organization. They take that to share on social media, and they have a bit of a structure around doing it. And I find when they have confidence in something that's got a bit of a structure, like a system or solution that's uniquely theirs, that comes with confidence. And then if they're in their own business rather than working for someone else, I would often encourage them to host their very own workshop or a launch party or something where they don't have to bring in strangers off the street. It could be their friends. It could be their people that know them. practice it. But what that gives them is confidence in, I did this, and they get some photographs to document it, which then you can use for content delivery. But then what it does do is it shows them that they can do that, and they know, I can do more. And that's one of the ways I found really powerful.
Yeah, it's those building blocks, right? It's that, you know, people hear me say this all the time, that crawl, walk, run. Here he goes again with his crawl, walk, run. But it's so
Is that
true.
your framework? We could create something around that.
Here she goes.
Trademark it.
Kelly's now selling me.
It's book number 2.
But it's true, isn't it? You know, if you're afraid of public speaking, don't go into an audience of 1,000 people on the stage on your own. You're gonna struggle. I don't know any public speaker that's done that from the get-go. I know some prolific public speakers, and I know you've done a TEDx, and you're a known and very respected public speaker. You're very good at it. I've seen some of your work, and but it wasn't always like that, was it?
No.
You start. Tell us your journey. I mean, can you remember the first time you stepped foot into a public speaking gig? Can we call it?
Yeah.
Was there? Where was it? How did it feel? Were the nerves coming? Were you dry mouthed? Were you?
So I think the very first time I understood speaking and the impact that it can have was the job interview for Direct Holidays to become a holiday rep.
Oh, okay.
So in order to get the job,
Right.
the first thing you had to be able to do was tell a story. And they gave you one thing that you had to tell a story about, and everyone had their own interpretation of it. So the letter came through the post of, you've been selected, you must present a 5-minute story on a date. Can be any connotation that you want it to be. It's a date. And
was that yours?
Yeah, no, it was everyone's. So you sat in the room with 15 other people who all wanted this job, and you heard
you're all together.
Everyone's story. Yes.
Oh wow!
And
then the selection panel's there as well.
Yes, yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, that was at 18.
Tough.
Yeah,
18.
Mm-hmm. And I remember the one thing that I did, and something that's quite common in a lot of my presentations now, is I took props with me. So I basically told a story that I was shopping in a supermarket and I picked up a pizza, and on the back was a date that you could win. This is before, by the way, the movie Win a Date with Ted Hamilton came out, and it was win a date. Basically I won the date. This is the story that I told, because it was a date. I won it, and then I was imagining myself on this date with this celebrity that I was on holiday with, and I was feeling down, touching the sand, and I remember this so much. And then I was touching the water, and then it felt like cold water, and then I woke up and it was my hot water bottle had burst in my bed, and it was just cold water, and it was all a dream. But the storytelling piece was, I had gone to the little supermarket, I'd begged them to borrow a basket, I created a pizza box, I created shopping, and I had props. And often,
did you?
yeah, and often when you have props and you tell a story, that it takes away that your hands are shaking, it gives you something to do.
I like that.
It's a nice kind of introduction. So I think that becomes memorable, because I think that's the piece that maybe we haven't talked about, is storytelling makes you more memorable. But if you can add in a visual piece into your storytelling, it makes it even more memorable, or you become even more memorable. And I think back to that very first time, that date piece, and then because I was a holiday rep every single week, I had to stand in front of 150 people and tell the same, welcome to Gran Canaria, and this is your resort. And so I think I got into public speaking probably earlier, but I remember the aha moment of telling a story was, I got invited, maybe I had been in business 18 months, and I got invited to speak in the World Trade Center in Dubai.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, this is such a big deal. And I was invited to speak alongside someone who I greatly admired, who had a business, who was a property finder. It was huge. It is huge. It's, he's selling multi-million-dollar properties.
Right. Yeah.
Here's wee Kelly, 24 years old, with her styling business, who's doing a talk about what it was like to set up a business in those days. And I remember Michael did his talk first, and it was fine. It was quite dry, but There was talk. And then I did mine, and I told about what my journey had been like over, I mean, it was only 18 months in business, but there wasn't many women in business in those days. And I held up a napkin and I said to everyone, my business started on the back of a napkin in a bar, and I discussed the bar, and I said it was a Friday afternoon because that's when the weekends were, and I wrote down how I was going to start and what I was going to do and how it was all going to come together on this napkin, and I kept it with me, and I told my friend, I'm going to start this business. And that was the April of 2005, and I started it in the September. So I'm holding up this napkin and, finished the presentation. At the end, I had a queue of people who wanted to come and tell me their napkin idea. The visualness of it all. And then that obviously resulted in, and what do you do? How can you help me with my style?
Of course.
But it was the story that made them come and go, do you think my napkin idea is good? That's the power.
That's the power. Do you have a prop with you today?
I do, actually.
Do you?
I do.
Do you?
It's a very new prop. I would have to say it's a new prop because it's only, it's not even a week old.
Come on.
So meet Shakira.
Shakira.
Yes.
It's actually got a name tag.
It does. And you'll see the name tag is on the Sparkle Foundation. So
May I show that to this camera? Is that okay?
Go for
so
it.
This is Kelly's prop. This is Shakira.
So on Saturday night, I was...
How did you know, by the way? Or was that just coincidental? I've just noticed Shakira is cerise pink, which is my branding colour.
Oh, it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
Thank you, Shakira. You should come and hang out with me.
I love it. So on Saturday, just gone, so what are we now, Wednesday, I was emceeing a charity gala. So I am very connected and I do a lot of work with the Sparkle Foundation.
Okay.
I've been working with Sarah for the past 5 years. I've been out to Malawi. I love everything that they do. And as a host and an MC, I wanted to bring my team along to see and be part of, instead of going out to, I don't know, somewhere else. I wanted to make our end of year celebration something of impact. So I brought them along to the gala dinner. They'd never been to anything like that. And there was loads of activations to raise money. And one of the activations was Hookah Duck. So I paid for the girls to all have a go of Hookah Duck. And then they said, you've won. You can pick any teddy bear. And one of the girls was like, we can pick a team mascot. And each of the teddies that were there have one of the children's names in Malawi that it's part of the Sparkle Foundation.
So that's a real person?
Yes.
Wow,
so this is Shakira.
Child.
Yes.
Wow.
So we picked, Irish, one of my team members, picked this huge teddy. And I said, I love it. But I said, we're flying to Riyadh. We've got a speaking event in Riyadh on Friday. And I said, we can't take that with us. It needs to be something that's small enough that can fit in our bag, that stands out. And as a team, we picked Shakira. So I went, and no one was doing any of the activations at the time. So when I went back on stage, I went, right, okay, I'm going to take Shakira on and I'm going to tell the story, which wasn't in my MC script. And I said, we're here to raise money. One of the activations, please, 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 I see no one's got a team mascot on their table. You have to have a team mascot when it comes to auction. So make sure that you go to Hookah Duck, and then you can raise money, but you can also choose, or you can take one of the teddies home for your children. So that activation worked really, really well. And we've taken it everywhere. So yesterday I took it on her first outing, and I applied in a moment of madness to go along to a reality TV show.
You have?
Yes, I did yesterday. I didn't get through, but it was... and you're going to laugh when you hear this. It was Ant Middleton's Special Forces. And it was I
interviewed Ollie Ollerton recently.
Yes, yeah, I've had him on my podcast too.
Ollie's a great guy,
Yeah, and I think, subconsciously from hearing from him, and they're doing a show out here. So
you were going to go on that?
No, I went on the audition.
I mean, I know you keep fit and everything.
Exactly. So I felt like I was going to represent just women that had found fitness late in life and what have you. Anyway, Shakira was a massive hit, even if I wasn't. And I said, Shakira's here supporting me in spirit. It's with my team that can't be with me there in spirit. Shakira's with me. And the press loves it. And it was just that piece of storytelling as well.
See, there you go.
It's come everywhere.
The prop. Thank you for sharing that. One thing that I get from you, Kelly, and I know you spoke about really drilling down and discovering this more a little bit later in life, but I think you're very authentic, and I think you always have been. You know, when we talk about personal branding, to me, I've got to just say this. I think authenticity,
Yes.
it's bandied around now so much that it's almost becoming a little bit diluted.
Agreed.
And I think to be truly authentic takes extreme bravery, because a lot of people, they've got the public face, yet it's not the face. It's not the real person. Like an iceberg. So we're seeing the tip, what's showing, but there's a load underneath. And in personal branding, is it important to be human, to be kind, to have the energy that we see in you, but also, let's use the word for the sakes of everything, to be authentic? Can it be beneficial when sharing the story to talk about not just the successes, but when it did go a little bit pear-shaped and how you overcame that? Is that...
Absolutely. And I liked your iceberg analogy. I heard Chris Do talk about this particular analogy of when are you the youest you?
Yeah.
And I really like that. So
I love that.
yeah, and
when are you the youest you?
Yeah, so I took that more and I really thought about it, because I thought about my brand and how people see me. And I actually think about it as a sliding scale. Okay, so I see, when are you the youest you? Because the youest you can be you or me, dressed up, makeup on, you know, hair done, heels and all of this. But there's also the youest you is... honestly, me on a Saturday afternoon with my husband, because we eat early, because we go to bed early, with pizza, in shorts and a t-shirt, and my hair's not done, and no makeup.
Yeah.
But that is also me.
It is.
Would I always showcase that version of me? No.
Probably not.
But is there a time and a place? Yes, sometimes. And that's why I think different social media platforms actually allow you to showcase you in the youest you in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think, for example, Instagram stories is a great way to showcase the youest you, the youest you in that space.
Because it's a short burst.
Yeah, and it goes.
And it goes.
And you know, okay, sure, people can screenshot it, whatever, but it gives you that opportunity that's also people that are following you. It's not people that maybe you don't know, or it's an environment where people won't just kind of discover you on something. So I think that you have the choice to control the narrative, but it can't just always be the dressed up, this is
polished
me person.
Yeah.
No, because otherwise there's not the relatability. And I think the best compliment someone can give you is, God, you show up how you do online is how you are in person. Like, I think that's what people should strive for. What you don't want is people go, wow, you don't come across like anything you do online.
Yeah. And isn't there this other point as well, which somebody shared with me a number of years ago? They said, Ian, if you're building a personal brand, remember you are the personal brand. So if you're a stroppy, miserable so-and-so with people, and then you're online, hi, and so kind and everything, remember that people are seeing everything. And eventually when you elevate to the levels of some of those people I mentioned earlier, you're kind of always in the public eye, aren't you?
Yeah. I wonder if that's the same. I heard recently that someone had said about money, you know, people talk about money and they're scared to make money, but money only amplifies the person that you are.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're already a mean person and you get more money, then you'll just be that mean person.
Yeah,
whereas,
if you're already rude.
Yeah. And I thought, I wonder actually in that personal brand space, it is probably the same in terms of, you know, the more public you are, then you'll amplify who you really are as a person. But I think it also comes back to, like, I love life. Like, I really do love my life. Even if I go to bed at 9:00 at night, I love the gym. I love my clients. I love the opportunities that I get to do. I love traveling. I like my family, you know, all these things, you know, I love spending time with them. I feel so fortunate that there's so many things I love doing. And then
Can I ask you a question? If everything was stripped away from you, your successes, your finances, your business, I think Kelly would still love life.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And actually, I think I've learned a lot that, yeah, the nice things, the traveling business class, the luxury holidays, like all of those, they were lovely. But I actually like the simplicity of kind of just going to the beach.
I think a lot of people do.
And I like
it's
that I go to the
place,
gym.
Is it? It's the company. I know that's an old, sometimes cliched saying, but I honestly believe it. You can be
the company of you.
And the company of you. So in sort of, solitude, are you happy with who you are?
Yeah.
And also you can be in the best places in the world with the wrong people. It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You can be on a park bench having fish and chips in the UK. I don't know what you'd have out here. Yeah. And, it can be amazing.
Yeah. I remember when I met my now husband, and like he was the icing on the cake. Like I was really happy. I didn't need someone. Sure, it was nice. It would be nice to have someone, but I'd found, through a divorce and through, time on my own, who is Kelly? And
be happy with yourself.
Yeah, and what does she like? And
right.
And, is she the person that likes Pilates, or is she the person that likes the gym, or is she the person that likes this job, or who would make the decisions for you?
Yes.
And then,
first.
Yeah, and then when I go, no, actually, I quite like going to bed early. That's not driven by anyone else. That's just me. And all of that gave me the confidence that when I did meet my husband, I'm like, listen, I'm coming with an energy that's, you're the icing on the cake, but I don't need you. And that sounds terrible. I do kind of need him, but you know
it
what
doesn't
I mean?
sound terrible. I completely get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You had spent time on your own. You discovered who you were. And I think it's so important. Some people, they believe that the other person will give them the happiness. It's not always the case. You have to be really, really comfortable with yourself. And if you're quite an independent person, that's okay in a close relationship. Actually, because if God forbid, if things go wrong for people, I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
No, absolutely.
You've still got you.
My husband would say the same as well. He's like, I was quite happy,
Would he?
Yeah, totally.
And is he an early morning person?
Yeah,
too?
he is. Actually,
Well,
that
then
makes
bonus.
It really was. But it's I would always say that when you're picking your next partner, find someone on your cadence cycle.
But it isn't just partner, is it?
Yeah.
Business as well. Your team. You talk about how you've done this piece with them to help them realise that actually these points that may be perceived as negative, they're their golden nuggets. That's the hero.
Yeah.
That's the hero in their story.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly. So we spoke about building confidence. We spoke about the power of storytelling. We spoke about using props. We spoke about so many things. But how can people, start telling their story? Because again, it comes back to this, I haven't got anything to say. We see a lot of people online now on socials that have literally blown up. They're very raw. There's very little editing.
Yeah.
It's them speaking to camera.
Yeah.
They've got a strong message usually. What would you say to people who are thinking, I don't know, have I got a story? Could I be a personal brand?
Yeah.
Perhaps, do some people overthink it?
Well, yeah, there's stories in that as well. I do values exercise that people really understand what their values are, and their stories are driven around that. And I have made a teen edition of values cards for teenagers, and I've got an adult version. If I do the value session with adults, it takes about 30 minutes. If I do it with teens, they're done. They're done in 10. And they just don't overthink it in the same way. They go, this is me. Yep, this is me. No, that's not me. Whereas adults are like, am I this? Am I not that?
Right.
I'm not sure. So I found that I go and speak in schools, that the polar opposites. But to go back to your question about the storytelling piece, one of the best things I ever did was create a story bank, and I now share that with my clients. And if anyone who's listening to this wants to get the story bank, it's a really simple Google Doc, but every single night I write down one thing that's happened. Now, it doesn't have to be like an Oscar worthy moment. It can simply just be Ian said this today on the podcast, and it really made me think about X. That's it.
Wow.
And then
You journal that?
yeah, it just on a Google Doc. That's it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and you just write it down, and then what happens is you end up with all these one-liners that you then could potentially take into, because you forget them. So you could potentially put them into something that is a framework or story. So I used 3 in my TEDx that I took from my story bank. So before I did my second TEDx in October, I looked through my story bank. I knew what the theme was, and I was like, what stories will work for my theme? And I remember on the 31st of July, all that's written, it says, Bin Man showed me so much happiness in the sunglasses I gave him. That was it. On a day I felt sorry for myself, because that bit's quite important. And that was all it was. But that piece that I then took, I went, that story, I'm going to work on and put that into my TEDx, because that is everything for the legacy piece that I want to talk about in your personal brand in TEDx. And that I could have forgotten. It was a chance moment with, so I've become very friendly with the bin man. I see him every single morning because I have this routine, and he cleans the park, and every single day he's there with a smile on his face, and he's so happy. And I basically gave him some sunglasses because I saw that he was in the sun all the time and he didn't have any. So I gave him these sunglasses. My husband was like, I don't think I'll use these anymore. And I said, I'm going to give them to Shetty. And I gave them, and we went on holiday, and I didn't see him for a couple of weeks. And then I was walking back from the gym, and I hadn't had a great day that morning, and stuff had happened during the week, and I was just feeling a bit sorry for myself. And as I was coming to the park, I saw Shetty with his luminous jacket on that he wears, and he's waving, like he's so happy, waving these sunglasses at me. And I was like, oh, wow. That moment of me just feeling sorry for myself disappeared, going, no, look, that one thing that you did for someone, how happy they are. And it taught me that just, you don't know how these things impact other people, and in turn show you something that maybe you didn't know. So that became the ending of my TEDx from my story bank that was there. So that's one of the things that I like to share with clients to get them to think about, one thing that they can do. Even now, I can do a workshop and someone will tell me a story, and I'll be like, if you just change that and that, it's your LinkedIn post. If you just do that and that, it's a LinkedIn post. And they go, oh, I never thought about it like that. So.
I'm glad you mentioned LinkedIn because there's a lot of stats available mainstream of company posts versus personal stories. The numbers are frightening.
Yes.
Like, people don't want to really read about the company. Often it's quite dull. Yeah. But if you've got a sort of interesting leader, they don't always have to be the leader either. There can be anybody in the business, because everybody builds the blocks around the story, the narrative. You don't want it completely jointed. But personal branding on LinkedIn is I don't have the stats in front of me, but I remember seeing the numbers once and I was like, wow.
It's big. You know what's really fascinating about LinkedIn? One, it's the one that's hard to replicate. So, Instagram, people can copy your name, and I'm a Bitcoin specialist, and I don't know, art investor, and God knows what else people have put in there. But LinkedIn is much harder. So I think that there is a higher level of trust on LinkedIn because it's the actual person and it's linked to the company. But the thing about the visibility on LinkedIn is the stats are currently there's over 1 billion users.
Yeah, I know.
Only 2% are active.
I know.
That, I think,
Scary.
is mind-boggling. That if you've got something to say, which everyone does, but you put it in a storytelling format, you can be so visible that people think it's external visibility, but all your team look at LinkedIn and are seeing what happens. And that 2% to go to the 3, 5, 10, 15% is you need to be posting more than once a week, consistently. So not once a week for a month. But I've had incredible, my TEDx came through visibility through LinkedIn because they saw me as a speaker.
Wow.
And then I'm flying to Sri Lanka in January because of a LinkedIn post that went viral.
Really?
told a story about my experience of personal brand and how people treated me in Sri Lanka. Like, honestly, the hospitality is probably one of the nicest as a country, people treating me in any holiday that I've been on.
Wow.
And I talked about this, the different experiences that we had, how people were so invested in the food that we had, the drinks that we experienced, the service, the smile. Like, it was next level. So I did a LinkedIn post about it, and it went viral, 60 reposts. I do think I've now got quite a community in Sri Lanka that do actually follow me on LinkedIn. But what that picked up was someone that's hosting a conference in January to 500 entrepreneurs and said, can you come back as a speaker?
Wow.
And our theme is going global. We believe personal brand is a huge part of this. And can you be our keynote speaker? From a LinkedIn post.
Insane.
Telling a story.
Telling a story. Telling it well as well. Yeah. You've become the first agency or business, we can call it either, offering an accreditation in personal branding, something I know you're very excited about. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? You can get a CPD accreditation, a diploma.
Yeah.
This is like groundbreaking stuff, right?
You know what? I'm really proud, actually.
You should be. You should be.
I never went to university.
Didn't you?
And I didn't. And I think, you know, as much as I really do believe that qualification...
Can I ask you why you've said that then? Because you're almost justifying your successes not come from academic.
Well, I think in that space is that I always felt you didn't need qualifications to be who you were in life. I think that's the piece. So that's why I think... But I think there are... Because often, I think my challenge with university is people go to university and then they don't end up doing that. They go for 4 years and I feel that they walk out of it and then they're still going into potentially a job that's not is earning the same as if they started at 18 or don't get me wrong, I know that there is definitely some roles that need the
absolutely
the
certain professions
not doubting that.
Absolutely.
But it's more that I think, you know, certainly later in life when we find things, it's like, how can we get better at that piece? And I think that's probably where the justification is. I feel really proud of someone who hasn't actually been to university, done the qualifications, but has got so good at something that can actually get it to a point that is globally recognised as an accreditation.
It's a superb
Thank you.
Superb. Well done you.
Thank you. And that really means a lot. We took 6 through the first cohort, and I think that this will be really my goal is to impact more people. And that sounds very general, but it's how, when you start asking yourself, how can I impact more people? It can't just be through you. You have to empower other people to be able to do that. And I feel that by helping others become CPD accredited in personal branding, giving them the strategies of this is how you can help other people, that's the ripple effect.
Massive.
And that's, I think, probably the bit that I'm so excited about is empowering others to tell their story, to get their clients to go out and do it. And that's when I go, I actually got AI to work out the reach of how that could impact. And it was looking at all the social media platforms. If you get, 100 clients through it next year, what reach can that have? And we're millions. And now I'm like, for the reach.
Was it big numbers?
It really was. And I was like, that even my mind boggled at that.
Yeah.
And I thought, but that's what we're here to do. Life is not a dress rehearsal. We only have one chance. And, let's make it the best one we can. And that's pretty much how I live and show up every day.
I love that. And, that compounding effect, like you say, improving yourself 1% a day. It isn't hard. It isn't. But it's not 300 odd percentage at the end of the year. When it compounds, it's massive. And done over a number of years, it's huge. Kelly, I've really enjoyed the conversation today. This has been a great time in the studio. You've also made me think about a few things, so thank you.
I love that.
Really have sparked something, and I'll journal, because I do. I write down things, and I'm like, I'm going to come back to that.
So you're one of my 5 a day, because I have this goal of inspiring a minimum 5 people a day to take action.
Do you?
So, yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, my coach told me that I need to change it, and 5 wasn't enough. And I was like, but 5 a day is like you're taking your, eating your fruit and veg. So I kind of feel it works. And he's like, but what if you could do more? And I'm like, okay. And he says limitless, inspire limitless. But I don't like that 5 a day, because I think that's something that has a ripple effect. If you're inspired to take action, inspire is one thing, but inspired to take action, that's my goal.
Absolutely.
Then it goes to so much more. Hey, those that are watching and listening this,
I know, right?
They need to tell us. They need to tell us what they've been inspired.
Yeah, come back to us, tell us.
Yeah.
But really, why do you do what you do? I mean, I know you've sort of pieced pieces of, as we've spoken today, but what is that moment that makes you go, yes, I'm gonna keep doing this. I want to do more. What's that? Why do you do what you do?
It's the messages and the things that people tell me afterwards that I love. So I keep a memory bank as well as a story bank. So my memory bank is screenshots of things that clients send me.
I love that.
So they'll say, I just upped my prices and the first person paid X amount. And I'm like, oh my God, that makes me so happy. Or I just did my first LinkedIn post and I was so scared and I never thought I could do it. But look, it's had this result. And I screenshot all of those, because it's only fair to say that there are days when I'm like, I don't feel always 100%. And how I try and overcome that is by going, you know what? Or, there could be someone that you don't always please everyone, as we talked about in the beginning. But I just go to that memory bank of all the screenshots of the people that message me on my Instagram stories, that when I go to the gym in the morning and they go, I went to the gym this morning because I saw your post and I know that you were there.
That's beautiful.
And that, to me, then, that is what makes me do what I do. I'm not a PT. I just like the gym. I found it late in life. It means I can stand on stage more. But if it inspires one other person to be healthier, great stuff. And all of that just leads into everything else. So
yeah. You're right. Even though you have a positive way about you, high energy, you're human. So there are going to be days where you go, know. And if you've got something to reflect, I think it's like a little bit like, to tell a story, if I may. Brene Brown talks about when her TEDx blew up. And yet her husband, a press agent, a family said, don't read the comments.
Yeah.
And there was some very, very nasty comments. But what Brené did afterwards when she reflected was like, well, who's saying that? Who is saying that? And what right do they have to say it?
Yeah.
And her line that I remember well from the piece that she put afterwards of how to build that resilience was, if the gladiator isn't in the arena with me, they have no right to say what they're saying. In other words, if you're not coaching and doing as successfully as you have done, that one negative means nothing, especially if it's coming from someone who doesn't do what you do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
and then to reflect on something positive, because what she then was doing was, but like 10 million people watched it and liked it.
Yeah. And you have to remember that there's always going to be people. I think the people
the trolls,
that don't agree,
the negative.
And I try not to read
some
them
people
as
jealous,
well.
maybe.
Yeah. But you can never judge or comment on someone if you haven't walked a day in their shoes, and we never walk a day in anyone's shoes, because they've only ever walked in their own ones. So you don't know why they do things. You don't know why they said that. You don't know why they create that. And I think you have to leave them. You have to leave them to it. And I just let my family read all the bad comments if there's any. I'm like, you can read them, and I don't need to know, and I don't need to put my head in that space. So,
you spoke about the importance of what you've achieved with the accreditation, for personal branding. So, what's on the horizon? Can you share something with us that's obviously not confidential and important to the future development of everything, but maybe something that's, what's on the horizon, and what would you like to achieve in the next few years? And if I dare say, would you like to leave a legacy?
It's a great question. And that is one that I answered in my TEDx talk, because I actually don't think legacy is what we leave. I think legacy is what we live, and the legacy is here and now. And I think the reality is that what do we leave behind? Like, people rarely remember us after 1 or 2 generations. And let's be real, I think it's, yeah, sure, we still talk about people, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, but there's people that have done mind-blowing things 300 years ago and we don't even remember who they are. And I think we're much better at thinking of legacy being not a future tense but a present tense of how do we make people feel now, and that then drives the decisions and the things that we end up doing and how we show up, because that's going to have an impact on people feeling stuff today versus when I leave something behind. I'm never going to know how it impacts them because I'm not here to experience it. So, do as you wish. So that piece for me is very much here and now. What am I building? What am I doing? How am I inspiring others to fulfill in what they are doing? And the CPD accreditation for me is a huge part of that, because it means we can scale and it's not one-to-one. So that's probably been the missing jigsaw piece for us, is if we want to impact more people, you have to alter your model to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You can't be one-to-one. And for me, more stages. It's one-to-manys where I get my personal fix of encouraging people to go and do this. So if I don't get the opportunities myself, I create them, and I, host my own events. I make them bigger, I make them different. I reach out, and slowly more and more of those are coming. So I'd like to see more international opportunities, which is a nice way to start 2026, doing Sri Lanka. And I kind of think, well, that's a start on, I never saw that coming, doing more of those. And who knows? You said something interesting about you're doing an autobiography at some point, and books. I was late in life at finding a book. I hated reading books, but actually they brought me the biggest results in who I am as a person. So who knows? They're your legacy piece that someone could maybe pick up when you're not here, and it makes someone do one thing. That's it.
I love that. What's the best way to find you, to work with you, to book you as a keynote speaker, to come on your programs, to learn about personal branding? I know you've got social media, so just give us a quick rundown. We're going to put obviously all your details in the footnotes of this episode, but
Thank you.
What is the best way of finding you?
So I'm Kelly Lundberg, so I have an unusual name.
You do.
But interestingly, not unusual enough. So the reason my website is kellylundbergofficial.com is because when I had that opportunity with Harvey Nichols,
Yep.
I went and bought my domain name, but Kelly Lundberg in 2010 was gone.
Oh.
And I eventually found the person who owned it, and I begged them to sell me it. Really, I said, I'm building my business, my name, it's my brand, and I'll pay money, like a lot of money for it. And the gentleman refused to sell it to me. Ooh. And then when he came back, he told me why. I kind of was like, oh yeah, okay. And he said, I've just had a daughter and I've named her Kelly Lundberg, and I want to give the website to her when she's older.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So that is why I'm kellylundbergofficial.com. It's why my Instagram is kellylundberg.official. LinkedIn, I'm Kelly Lundberg. But you can find me on all of those. I'm on every platform in that sense quite frequently. So come and say hi. I love that. I'm very social. I use social media as it's meant to be, social. And I love it. So yeah, I met some incredible people through it, and I think you did some research through that. You look online.
I did.
It's your shop window, and I think that's your 24-hour digital business card, where someone on the other side of the world, while you're sleeping at 9 p.m, can be learning more about you. It's kind of cool. So
as they're browsing at 10.
Yeah, when I'm fast asleep. If anyone sends me a message at 8:30 at night, they know they're going to get a reply at like 5 a.m. and then they'll answer it later. So
I love it.
But thank you for asking me different questions. I always really like the opportunity to inspire, but share different stories, and I haven't been able to share some of those before. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's been a real pleasure having you. Thank you so much. And as we come to the end of this episode, I think let's just reflect for a moment, because we've spoken about so many things. Kelly shared with us her story, right from back being very young and taking an opportunity, which was, she grasped. She didn't look back. She embraced it. She pushed through her own limiting beliefs, maybe. But we talk about the importance of personal branding. Be yourself. Tell your story. Realize that everybody has a story. And I believe, as Kelly does, that it should be shared. Get yourself a coach, because your story is interesting. It really is. So thank you, Kelly Lundberg, and thank you for watching. Please, and listening, please listen to some more episodes. Go through. We've got some great guests in the past and coming up in the future. Hit subscribe. It really helps me and my team continue to do what we do. And yeah, I've had great pleasure in the studio today with Kelly as she shared, as I asked, so what's your story?